Welcome back to The Weird and the Wonderful with Strange Bones. That's me. And I hope you're all having a fantastic evening tonight. It's a little warmer, a lot wetter, but a good evening. So, we're going to be carrying on with our stories of hauntings and strange supernatural beings tonight. And of course, in the last one I shared with you guys a couple that are of at least personal experience, which I do hope everyone enjoyed. But I thought tonight we could have a look at a couple that I think rank as among the favorite and the famous in South Africa, and have a look at a few things that may or may not be out there. One of the things that in a way I'm looking for in these are consistencies in what people say happens. What might be out there, and are there any rules by which we can understand the strangenesses that are said to lurk in the shadowed corners? I do have a number of questions of my own, which I find to be interesting, at least, that I haven't yet found proper answers for all the time. So maybe if any of you actually have an answer to them, you can give those answers to us, but if not, well, we shall have to see how it goes. But yeah, with that said, let's get started with some of the questions that perhaps are the important ones, if you will, for this kind of thing. Something which I've never really found a proper answer for. If a ghost haunts a place, surely it haunts it all the time. Why is it that you only see the supernatural at night? Hey, Hannah. It's a very good question, I think, that nobody properly gives an answer to. Hey, Lisa. Welcome, welcome. Surely if a ghost haunts a place, it must haunt it 24/7, not just only at certain times. Or if there were specific times, maybe it should fit to the times when perhaps the person died or something like that. It seems that there's a lot of things that aren't properly explained in terms of the supernatural. Maybe it's just creepier at night. Now, there have been occasions of stories I have encountered where there were hauntings that were very visible during the day. So it seems it's not always the case, but 90% of these stories only seem to happen at night, which is a strange situation to me. Another question which we seem to have some answer on, but not quite as much answer as you might want for consistency, is that it seems that ghosts don't last forever. As time goes on, some fade. Some, however, do get stronger, it seems, which is interesting as well, but it's very hard to tell. It seems that initial hauntings are stronger than later ones, perhaps. Maybe it's a matter of the energy that they can manage to keep going. Who's to say? It's certainly one of the questions I have. And are there proper categories to ghosts that we can say? You have varying levels in that regard. I'm not really sure. Certainly there's a lot more questions than answers, and I would like to know if there are any proper answers to them. Along with that, of course, we have questions about what else might be out there. Now, in all fairness, I put it to you that if you have any belief in any kind of spirituality, and well, many of them might say that this one or that one is something bad and you should have nothing to do with it. Of course, that's a matter of opinion, matter of what religion you follow and all the rest. Pretty much every religion will tell you that yes, there absolutely are things out there, some which seem to belong to this world in some strange and tenuous fashion, and some of which do not. They seem to come from somewhere beyond and are suitably creepy in that regard, but all seem to agree that whether they are good, bad, or just best avoided, they certainly do exist. So perhaps we have that at least to give us a certain degree of something to begin with. Now, what exactly these things might be, I don't know, but as I say, different cultures and different religions will give you different answers. And we've been talking about a couple of things in the last live that I myself saw and can't properly explain necessarily. I have my opinions, naturally, but in terms of certainty, not so much. Huge thanks there for the likes to Makuko. I do appreciate that very much indeed. And as we get started, I am going to say to you that keep in mind we have one rule on the live. We have a lot of different people that join the live, different countries, different cultures and all the rest of it, which is rather wonderful. So our one rule is you may agree, you may disagree, you may comment your opinion, but you must never be rude. If you are rude, you will get the boot. We don't allow that on this channel, and I tend to be fairly strict about it because we've had a number of fairly nasty trolls that have gotten on, and it ruins it for everyone. The point of the channel is for our own interest, curiosity, and enjoyment. So, absolutely. But that said, do comment very much. You are always welcome to give your opinions. Remember that we only allow you onto the live as a guest if you have been on for a sufficiency of time, because of said trolls that have attempted to ruin things for everyone. But that said, like, share, subscribe, do all of the good things. This channel relies on you guys. It's for you, so do show some support. Thanks again for all of those great likes. I appreciate it massively, and I do hope that you all will give your opinions. Now, with that said, let's get going with some of the interesting things that came up from the last live. And one of the things that turned up, which we didn't really get a decent answer on what it was a kind of a shadow person. Now, these have turned up in a lot of different cultures and countries world over, with a lot of different views as to what they might be, ranging from the idea that they're a kind of ghost to the idea that they're a kind of demon, or if you take the Middle Eastern viewpoint, that they're a kind of jinn or genie that are a semi-spiritual being that lives in a parallel universe alongside ours and can sometimes slip across into this one. So there are a lot of different views as to what they might be. And I related to you guys one of the stories where I actually saw one along with a friend of mine. And of course it was suitably creepy. But merely seeing such a thing, I can only tell you that the stories about them seem to be fairly consistent. And we will go into that a bit further. They are shadow-like beings. They seem to be able to change their shape if they wish to. They tend to have red eyes. They can speak when they feel so moved, and they are utterly creepy. They are almost always seen at night. Again, why? I don't know. But there you go. So I did a fair bit of research over the years into what it could possibly be, and I'm going to share a little bit of that tonight. Now, they seem to be very common in Africa. They're certainly said to be seen in other countries as well, but they are absolutely common in Africa and in South Africa, where I am, of course. And there are a number of interesting stories about these things. Scientific viewpoint is that it's a kind of psychological thing. It's a brain stimulation thing that is linked to things like sleep paralysis and all of that. But of course, cultural viewpoints and religious viewpoints are quite different. Essentially, we're talking about a somewhat paranormal sighting of a dark humanoid figure, often only seen in the peripheral vision rather than head-on, but sometimes also head-on. So the first view is actually an Islamic view, that they are jinn. And those of you who don't know, the idea of a genie comes from the Islamic viewpoint of the jinn, and in fact the singular of the jinn is a jinni, and that's where we get the word genie from. So there you go, straight off. They are ethereal in some sense. They can interact with the physical world. The second viewpoint, which I personally think is pretty cool, comes from many of the African belief systems, where they are actually ancestral spirits. Now, you may not realize there are two kinds of ancestral spirit, and this is very, very important for a lot of reasons. The first variety, of course, are the good ones, the ones who have passed on and therefore become an ancestor, and are the ones that are venerated and more in the traditional beliefs of many people. However, if somebody was particularly not good for some reason, it's eminently possible that they would become a cast out spirit. So technically still an ancestor, but not venerated and not considered to be part of the pantheon of ancestors that are there. Now, what happens to them? Well, they become a lost shadow figure, full of anger and hate, that is cursed to wander the wastelands looking for revenge, and they can become quite problematic. They are, of course, linked in South Africa to the famous Tokolosh and to many other things in the different cultures around Africa. So absolutely you have that possibility, so that it would be a kind of ghost, I suppose, but an angry one. Usually ancestors are connected to specific families and sometimes to specific locations, which matters. But these cast out ones aren't, because they're not allowed to be stuck with the rest of everyone else. So that becomes an issue. Now, obviously not everybody follows the traditional African beliefs, and in urban legends we have a number of interesting stories that seem to be quite multicultural. It may be linked to a number of different possible things, but you have the story of the Hat Man, and of course we're going to have to go into that a great deal more. Now, shadow people have inspired a number of different things in the varying cultures, and they are considered to be bad in general. And absolutely, if you end up with one connected to you in some way, or connected to one of your household items like mirrors, or even clothing or doorways, you have to get the varying cleansing rituals to clear you of this particular problem. Now, scientists, of course, will tell you straight away that no, these things aren't really real. It's simply a neurological thing. So your temporoparietal junction can create the illusion of a shadow person when stimulated, apparently. I've got to be honest, I can't tell you too much about the temporoparietal junction, as I don't know a lot about brain surgery. If anyone does, you can comment, but apparently we are capable of fooling ourselves. But on the other hand, many paranormal investigators say that they are interdimensional beings, and others say that they are spirits. The choice, of course, as to what exactly they are is up to you, but if you have any opinions, do give them. They are described as human-shaped dark silhouettes. In more modern stories especially, they are often said to wear hats, like the Hat Man, or long coats. But what's really interesting about them is that in general, while they are quite terrifying and scary, they seem to be somewhat passive. They never actually do anything. Why? I'm not sure. It's a very, very interesting question in that regard, and one that it would be nice to have some decent answers for, but which honestly I cannot say that we do have. So you must make of that as you will. Nevertheless, what are we talking about there? We know that in paranormal circles, a great deal of commentary is given on such things. I can't say that we really have much certainty on any of it. I think that I could name a good 10 or 15 people that I know that say they have seen them. I have seen them, and that's just off the top of my head. So maybe it's a real thing. Now, a number of religions, legends, and belief systems describe the supernatural entities like this more as shades of the underworld, and various shadowy humanoids have, of course, been a staple of stories and ghost stories. You find them in the Middle East, you find them in the Americas. The Choctaw Nalusa Falaya, for example, is such a creature. They're absolutely something that has been talked about by a lot of people, and people have even discussed them on TV and radio and all the rest of these things in order to share what is said. And I think a great deal of us have seen such things. They generally seem to have human shapes for the most part, but I will say that I've had a couple of stories where they were animal shapes. I will relate one to you in a little bit. They are connected, of course, to sleep paralysis and the concept of figures attempting to sit on your chest and choke you. One version which was shared was that they are a kind of alien or possibly a kind of demon, and that prayer, of varying religions and types, of course, up to your own preference, is supposed to be very effective against them. Some say that you can't necessarily say that they are necessarily evil or good or neutral, but rather that they vary, just like people vary. So there is that. But one of the most popular modern ones is the Hat Man. And basically it looks just like a shadow person, as in all of the different stories, but also wears a wide-brimmed hat, possibly like a fedora. He has either very few or no discernible features, and you can absolutely feel where he stares at you. Now, modern science say that a number of the antihistamine medicines, such as Benadryl, may actually cause you to see such things. I have never taken a Benadryl in my life, so I wouldn't know. Scientists explain them away in all sorts of airy and very logical ways. So yeah, sure. And to be fair, I don't think you can blame it entirely on drugs alone, because I think people that are on serious amounts of such bad things will see just about anything. One subject interviewed said you don't see shadow dogs or shadow birds, or you only see shadow people, which shows that it's an hallucination connected to people. Well, I would argue that, because one of the stories that I have, which I will share, will tell you that it was a shadow dog. So we've seen them, of course, used in a lot of stories. There was an episode of The Twilight Zone, the famous TV show. We know that there were video games that have used them. There's books about it and all the rest of it, so there's no lack of them, and they're certainly very terrifying, which I suppose might explain things. But we've had stories of shadow people like the jinn, the domovoi, and all of those things for centuries, long before modern fancy drugs and stuff as well. So maybe there's more to it. I don't know. You will absolutely have to share that idea with me. Now, we know that the Choctaw will tell you about what they call the Nalusa Chito, or Impashilup, a great black being that is a soul eater. And if individuals allow evil thoughts or depression to enter their minds, it will creep inside and eat their souls. And many people of the Choctaw will not say his name in fear of summoning the spirit. There's also the long black being, the Nalusa Falaya, which resembles a man with very small eyes and long pointed ears that frightened people, and sometimes may even approach you sliding like a snake upon the ground, which sounds suitably creepy. We know that there are a fair number of these creatures that apparently are connected to the land of the dead that the Choctaw speak about. And of course in Africa and South Africa we have all sorts of things that resemble much the same. So perhaps there is truth to that. Don't know what you might think about that. We know that the shadow creatures are common, and the Hatman especially. So the Hatman particularly, tall, faceless usually, with a wide-brimmed hat, often standing staring at you. It's usually considered to be a hallucination connected to sleep paralysis and nightmares, but maybe it isn't. Now, in the story that I told you the last time, it was spotted by a friend of mine, and he came and called me, and we both saw it, and it spoke to him, which implies then that perhaps it is not a hallucination, because surely then, if he could see it but was hallucinating, I wouldn't have seen it. I would have thought. We know that the descriptions are pretty much the same. Tall, about 6 foot tall, wearing a wide-brimmed hat and sometimes a trench coat, often appearing in doorways. Now, anybody worth their salt that deals with the supernatural or paranormal will tell you very quickly that any kind of a doorway is more than just a doorway in this world, that it can be a liminal space where the ways between are thin, just like mirrors and crossroads. So absolutely, doorways would make sense in that regard. Often accompanies with a intense feeling of dread, breathlessness, and heavy pressure on the chest, which again is fairly common. The behavior is that he usually just stands and watches, sometimes then moving away slowly, or just fading, or possibly even passing through walls. So it seems that absolutely he is not physical in that regard, but he can elicit a great deal of fear. And it might imply that he's not physically aggressive at all, just terrifying, or maybe that they feed on fear. Now, they are often seen in homes, even when awake. There's been a lot of investigations. Children see them as well, without necessarily knowing the stories. So perhaps there is that. Always with a certain amount of terror. But then I suppose if you woke up in the night and saw something standing there, terror would be a pretty standard response. So I don't know if we can read too much into that, at least. In some ways he acts like a ghost and is almost always seen only standing up. The forms simply fade or wander off through a wall or something, but there's no apparent reaction to people besides staring. Many people have reported bumping into the entity, which does nothing, and then disappears, almost as if it can't see you necessarily, which is a possibility. Generally never has facial features. It's too shadowy and you can't see much. Some say that it feeds on fear. Some say that it will just act like a normal person and obey the laws of where the walls and things are. Others say not. Some say he's just an observer. I don't know. it's certainly an interesting question. Now, one of my favorite stories in this regard seems to come from the idea of the Ashanti people come up with the best explanation, let's say that. And in terms of that, they're talking about the origins of the world. And I like this because it makes sense in many ways. So they say that when God created all things, he then decided to create the world. And when he populated with the world with all the things that are in there, some things didn't fit and they were left out. And because of that, they are not really real. But they hate all things real because they haven't got it and want it. And when they can, they slip into this world to try and get some kind of reality. And they are therefore very dangerous because they do not belong. They are the left out things from what I suppose you can roughly describe as the out of. Now, is that true? Well, I suppose it's a question. But they speak of these things in Ashanti and folklore. Spooky, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm very good, thank you. So we're taking on from yesterday's live to look a little bit more detailed into a couple of things. The first bit is on shadow people, what they might be and what things I have discovered in that regard over the years. And then the second will be on some more South African ghosty type things. So hopefully you will have comment and be interested in. But we have some good ones. So we've just been going through the famous Hat Man. Do you know the Hat Man story?
No, I'm not really interested in ghost stories.
No? I thought you wanted to find out if they were real.
Yeah, I don't believe that they are real. I mean, if they were real, I would have probably seen them, and I would have heard a lot more people that have met them. I think news organizations would have went and found them. There would have been massive documentaries, videos, I mean, movies where they've actually made movies with the ghosts. The ghosts actually went and wanted to make a movie with the people.
Well, I suppose that assumes that the ghosts don't have their own specific things that they're doing. I don't think we could go so far as to say they are living on in another form the way we live on. I think that would be a fairly different.
His spirit never passed away because he wanted to make a movie and he never got to it. Now that he's dead, he finally had the opportunity to make a movie with this guy he met. So now he's making the movie so he can pass away.
That would be an interesting thought. I would certainly watch a movie like that.
Yeah, but it would most likely be fake and not a real ghost because the ghosts don't really exist.
Well, I've seen plenty of them, and I think they exist. So there's that, I suppose. It's a matter of personal opinion,
Yeah.
back and forth. I still say that there's a great deal out there that we think we know but don't necessarily know. What exactly it is another question, of course. Some people
I
say it's
take back my
aliens.
words. I'm not going to say I don't believe that they exist. I don't believe in anything. I don't believe they. I'm not going to say I don't believe they exist because I don't have a belief in anything. I'm just going to say I don't know if they exist.
That's fair. That is a very fair point of view. I think that we certainly don't know a great deal, even of the things that we might think are out there. So it's very hard to make any particular decisions in that regard. As I say, when I worked as a monk in KZN with The Exorcist, I certainly saw a lot of weird things that I would be very hard pressed to explain. So there is that. But then I would have to also admit immediately that I can't explain it, which is kind of the point, isn't it? There must be an explanation, but I haven't necessarily got it. I have beliefs about it, but not proofs. So there's that. So yeah, there's a lot unresolved, shall we say. Now, would you put your same opinion not just to ghosts, but to any kind of supernatural things?
Yeah, I'm going to stick with never going to say I believe something because it's just a weird word for me. I'm just going to say I don't know.
But that's fair. One of the problems I find with, and I think you would agree with me, is when it comes to words, the problem is it's not necessarily easy to explain what you mean. Belief goes along with far too much religion, which...
Well, I'm going to say the word belief sounds like something I want. So if I believe, I don't believe there's unicorns. It sounds like I do not want to believe there's unicorns. I don't want... yeah, you understand what I'm saying?
I know exactly what you're saying. You're 100% correct. It's like I've always had a problem with the concept of the word soul, because it's so tied into religion that people have literally said to me, if you believe you have a soul, you must believe in God. Why should I? The word soul doesn't necessarily, all I'm saying is I think there is a spiritual aspect to being human and alive. It doesn't, I'm not saying I don't believe in a deity, I'm just saying that I don't see that the two necessarily are inextricably linked. You see, the words we have are often too attached to overtones, and you're totally correct about belief. If you say, well, I don't believe, then it seems to imply that you don't want a thing to exist. Yes. Or if you do believe, that you do want a thing to exist, which is not necessarily the case. It's a hard one to deal with, and you're quite correct. Huge thanks to Duran for those likes, I do appreciate. But yeah, now in yesterday's story we spoke about shadow peach balls. Now the first and best explanations about them that I got were from the Ashanti folklore, who talk about two things, which maybe these things are, if they're not as I said earlier, a psychological manifestation of the brain, and not real at all. It's your brain tricking you for varying reasons, which is possible as well, I suppose, because at the end of the day, the problem is everything we see relies on interpretation by our brain. That's how we exist, you know. I'm pretty sure that if we saw things in the way that certain animals see them, we would have a whole different set of stories, because the way they receive the light and sight and the different spectrums that they see in and all the rest of it, it would affect what you're looking at and how it appears. They say, for example, that if you could see into ultraviolet and infrared spectrums, people would not only have weird auras, but they would leave footprints behind them of slowly fading light as your body heat and all the rest of it fades from where you've been. So clearly how we see is interpreted by our brain, no matter how you look at it, whether you are really seeing something or not seeing something. I mean, you get where I'm going here. So to say it's a trick of the mind is kind of silly, because everything is a trick of the mind. That's how we see things, in a way. So there's that. Now, yesterday I told a story of seeing what was absolutely a humanoid figure. I have a story for you today where it was a dog figure. And this occurred not to me, but to a very good friend of mine. And he was dating this nice lady. I believe he got married now, but at the time he was dating her. And they moved in together, and she happened to have a small dog. And it was one of those little lap dogs, and it was white. But it was a cheeky little thing, and very curious. And where they lived, they didn't have a massive yard. So they would have to take it out for walkies to the nearby park for real exercise. But sometimes if work was busy during the week, they wouldn't get to do that, and it would get a bit bored and wander around their property. Anyway, he was at work all day, and he came home one evening with his motorbike, and the garage was sort of to the side and behind their two-story house. It was like a flat, if you will, but 2 stories, because in town space, all the rest of it. So he comes in, and he opens the garage and pushes his bike in. It was in Joburg. And he realizes that this damn dog is now in the garage. And it's obvious. Now, he, amongst other things, was a mechanic. So he would do all of his own work on his bike and on her car. And there was often oil on the floor of the garage. So they never let the dog into the garage. But clearly this dog had got in. It was sitting at the back of the garage, and he could hear it breathing. And it was black as soot. And clearly it had got into the oil and played around. And now it's like, the girlfriend is going to be back in half an hour from work, and she is going to be so annoyed. So he's like, damn it, I got to catch this dog. But he knew that because of the way the dog was, it would realize it had done wrong, and it would run away from him. So he thought, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to shut the garage door, because there's plenty of light coming in from the window to see by. It's not very bright, but enough to see the dog. And I'm going to grab the dog. And once I've got it, I'll take it inside and give it a good bath. And then at least that's done. So no problem. So he pushes his bike to the one side, shuts the door, and he goes in. And all of a sudden, this dog looks up at him, and it's got these glowing red eyes. And as he stops in shock, he realizes he can hear the dog that he thought this was barking in the house. And he's like, hold on, what the hell is this? Now, because it was a little townhouse garage type thing, there's not a lot of space in it, and there's only one way in and out, and that's the main door, which is behind him. So he realized there's no way this thing could have gotten in, whatever it was. So he grabs a broom, thinking, you know what, this must be a stray dog or something. And he flips the light on. Now he can see it, okay, sitting there at the back with its glowing red eyes. But as he flips the light on, it's gone. And at that point, he's like, I'm done with this, thank you very much. Drops the broom, gets out, goes in the, shuts the door of the garage, goes in the house, and he's like, thanks, no, good enough. And he told me this story the next day. Apparently, he never told his girlfriend. Might be a good or bad thing, depending on how you look at it. But he was like, yeah, it was just a no moment. And he still doesn't know what it was or how it disappeared when he turned the lights on. But the dog was in the house, his dog. And he was like, yep, beer time, right there. So there you go. It seems that they can appear as many different forms. Now, what have you got a picture of right there?
This is Bennu.
Inu.
Bennu.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's an asteroid. It's going to hit Earth only in 2180. They sent a spacecraft to it back in 2016.
Okay.
To go and collect samples. The samples came back 3 days ago.
All right. And
what they've collected from the samples is all the everything you need to make life is on the asteroid. All the building blocks. So you've got water and you've got all sorts of different chemicals. There's like 14 of it.
Okay.
Yeah. Which is very interesting because if that meteor has the building blocks for life, then it must be scattered all over the universe. So there might be more life than we think there are.
I think we all agree that it's foolishness to think that in a universe as big as ours, we are the only place anywhere ever with any kind of life. Now, what that life might be is, of course, very arguable, granted, but that there must be life. So I'm not surprised at all. I think that is an expected thing, to be fair. It's nice to see actual scientific discovery of it, absolutely, but it confirms what I at least have always said has to be true, and I think you would agree. I mean, come on, how big is the universe? So yeah, that's.
I did not expect it to have a simple piece of rock floating in the middle of nowhere to have all the materials needed to create life.
Well,
because if that rock has it, then there must be rocks like that all over, scattered across our galaxy. That means every planet that's close enough to its sun might have life.
Yes. Now, I did remember going way back, hearing a story that it was thought, why life on Earth? And somebody said that you would need something to kickstart that life off. And if a meteor containing the right ingredients came through the atmosphere and crashed, that heat would cause enough of a chemical reaction to possibly kickstart off that life, which implies then that all life originally began from some kind of a meteor fall like that exact meteor. So what you're looking for is a conjunction of a suitably receptive planetary body. So like the Earth has the right kind of environ, and it's at the right distance from its star, the sun.
Yeah, I think it's called the Goldilocks zone or something.
Yes.
So I think that's the main thing you probably need is to be in the Goldilocks zone. So it's not too hot and it's not too cold.
Correct. And
then all the other chemicals for life to walk around.
So yeah, you get a planet that has the right environment, and then you get the meteor that has the right ingredients, and the heat that is generated as it comes through the atmosphere, whatever the atmosphere is enough to cause the starting of the chemical reactions that do the beginning. Now, an interesting thing that goes alongside that, which is a medical thing, and it's fact, if your body as a whole becomes 2 or 3 degrees hotter or 2 or 3 degrees colder, it starts to die. You can stand it for a small window of time, but not for too long. You can't live like that. You've got to fit between a certain level, which is why when the weather gets too hot, you need to cool yourself off. And you need to drink water and hydrate and all the rest of it. And if it gets too cold, you need to wrap up. Because otherwise, so the band in which you can live is actually really quite small. And it's kind of weird like that. And it's true of quite a lot of things. Not all things, but a lot of things. So yeah, your Goldilocks principle is really, really critical. Now, it would then explain why there are a great many planets that, because they're not in that band, that Goldilocks band, when the meteors hit them, they never started any kind of life because they weren't quite there, if that makes sense.
Not in the Goldilocks zone. But I can imagine if a planet is in the Goldilocks zone and he's going to stay there for billions of years, billions of years, that's a nice big time period for life to start existing.
It is. Now, when this thing finally gets to us and hits, my big question would be, how big will it be? Because it's one thing to have a small meteor hit the Earth, cool, but if it's a bit too big, it might stop a lot of life as well.
Yeah.
Which is the other side of the thing.
It can bring life and it can take life away.
That's a fact. So yeah, and what kind of life? See, that's something that I've learned over the years, and I think that we've discussed this before on more than one occasion, that scientists are very quick to say, nature doesn't work like that, it would have to be this or that. But we've found that Mother Nature doesn't listen to scientists. So
they don't have enough information.
right.
That's what I think they might be. I think you might find life that's undescribable by us, that does not work in the same way that we work. They do not have
Absolutely.
DNA.
Or not be carbon-based. We are carbon-based, but our carbon basis is connected to and reliant on the carbon basis of our world. So we are uniquely adapted to living on Earth because that's where we live, if that kind of makes sense. But what if it happened where, I don't know, say silicone was the big thing? Maybe we would have silicone-based life. Hey, Izzy. So, I mean, yeah, there's a lot of stories around that it has to be like, but it doesn't necessarily. So, Izzy, we're actually talking on a couple of different things.
Yeah. How are you doing, brother?
We're just chatting about the weird and the wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I've been in the weird and the wonderful as well. So I also want to talk to you guys about the thing that I delved in.
Okay.
Okay. Alright, I'm gonna put you guys on loudspeaker.
So what is your thing that you talk about?
Alright. Hold on. I'm not someone that goes into. Oh, fucking hell. I don't like the fact that I'm not copying. But what I can tell you is, I've studied the people that the talk. I think you should talk.
Okay. So yeah, what we were basically saying is interesting scientific development that has just been sort of gone forward a little bit about the asteroid that has all the building blocks of life on it that is actually heading towards Earth, and what really might have caused life in general. It's a very new scientific development and a very interesting one. So
Yeah.
yeah, very cool.
But what do you think about the Abrahamic thing that they've been pushing on us? Do you think that it is like I'm gonna say this, a truth to that, or did that happen?
Are you referring to the Abrahamic religions?
Yep.
Okay, so here's the thing, and now actually this is a good point because it's something that we've been saying we were going to get to.
Because I'm against it. Like I need to be against this shit. I don't like. I've been brought up Jewish, right?
Okay.
So my whole thing is I do not like. I studied Islam. That is very bad. Like I must say, and Christianity is very like you need to do whatever you need to do. Like they care about everyone. So my thing is, I need to understand where you are coming from. Like this is. I read a lot, bro. Like I'm a psychologist, so.
Well, the problem that we would have to deal with in terms of religion, the first and most important thing to remember, which is a hurdle that I suppose in many ways has never been overcome, is that all religion is reliant on belief. There is,
100%.
yes, there is no scientific basis really for any specific deity of any kind.
I'm sorry. Like, can I ask you? And like, I need to talk to you a lot more. I did my honors in. I know it's like very bad, like compared to what you did. So I did a lot of occult research as well. So this is the thing that I also want to talk to you about. And also but if you have that time for me, can we talk about that?
Well, I tell you what we can do. You see, when it comes, okay, so for the rest of you guys who may or may not know, yes, I was properly trained as a priest.
Yeah. So what priest were you trained as?
Catholic.
Catholic. Really? No, that's a good thing. No, it's basically a bad thing. Like to,
I,
scripture.
I,
But I went into the dark arts with what is his name? I know it's wrong, but I mean that's the thing. Um, Aleister Crowley. So I liked the way he went on. No, but like I understand where where things are going. He wanted to pull out people. He wanted to pull out deities.
well,
And that was for me like I don't fuck with him.
Crowley was a very
And what
unique person and a bit of a showman, to be honest.
no he was, but he got the best guy out though. When he was talking about you're gonna get the best person out. He did.
Well, I mean,
He tried his best. But he got a really good person out. Yeah.
he was certainly one of the foundational people for modern occultism. Now,
Yeah.
whether it was in a good way or a bad way is a matter of opinion and of course.
Yeah.
But he certainly was one of the ones that made one of the biggest impacts, along with people like the Alexander husband and wife, and of course Gerald Gardner. And
No, 100%.
it
I agree
led
with
to a
you.
lot of different things.
Yeah, but there's so many people that he could have, like, you know what I mean? So, my whole thing is, they say that I am just like someone that like wanted to like talk to someone else.
Well,
We need to have a really good talk with one another about this.
well, we'll have to make a plot and a plan and do that sometime. And because the kind of questions that you're asking are obviously going to be a lot deeper
Yeah,
and
that's gonna be tough.
yes, and we would have to absolutely set the groundwork behind the concept of religions, the problems
Yeah,
of
no, it's
religions,
not gonna be.
and
You know
how
what
it
I mean?
developed.
I'm a nice person. Like I'm not gonna be like take you guys on and say like, yeah, it's just the way it is. I'm not an Islamist. You know what I mean?
Well, religion, of
So
course,
that is the thing that you need to understand, my brother.
there
We
is that.
respect. Yeah.
There is that. But of course, I don't think we can go into such depth on such things
No, it's gonna
tonight.
happen, my brother. It's gonna happen,
I'm
and
sure
you
it will.
guys need to understand it. Oh, I'm very much against that. You know what he say? No, we do a thing, my brother, and we talk.
In the future, we shall do so. But for now, we shall go on with the live we have tonight and see what we can find in terms of that. So we were talking about the Ashanti stories and what may or may not constitute a shadow person. And of course, they have two possibilities for you, which may or may not be good. The first is the Obai Fayao or Obaifo. Obaifo. Now, basically, it's a spiritual type thing that inhabits the body of an ordinary person. So it's kind of like a witch, but when they're in a normal person's body, they will have shifty eyes and obsession with food, and they travel at night to feed, where they leave the human bodies and turn into a glowing ball of light, but then can manifest as a shadow creature, which seems a little bit sort of counterproductive, maybe, I don't know. But they're a kind of vampire, essentially, and they're after blood. Now, they also bring disease and all other things, so there is that as well. The second thing they speak of, which may or may not connect to, but I have a problem with insofar as it's supposedly more aggressive than any of the stories we've normally encountered, which of course would be your Chianti. And they're more like the shadow things, but they are a lot more aggressive, and they will definitely attempt to get at you if they can. Now, why exactly, we're not sure. Now, comparatively, the jinn, which we've gone into in a great deal of depth in previous lives, we have encountered the fact that they are far more varied. Some of them are good, some of them are bad, some of them don't care and they're just neutral. So it changes greatly as to whether or not there'll be a problem, which makes a lot more sense. And they are not entirely physical, which maybe tells you something, because when we talk of the origins of life, one of the things I've often wondered is we as human beings are very fixated on whatever is out there being the same as us. And that I'm not sure is necessary. What if, and Spooky, give your opinion on this, what if there was a form of life out there that instead of being physical like us was, say, based in light and was a form of a wavelength of light, or was gaseous in its base? It would explain why we have stories of ghosts and spirits and things, because to us who expect life to be physical would not quite understand why you could have something there that was much more immaterial. And maybe we just can't see it all properly because our eyes are able to deal with our light spectrum, and we know there are many other light spectrums. So maybe that's the answer. What do you think?
Well, if I tell you, this is what I think, and I use the word what I think, that means I don't really know.
Granted.
Okay. And it's just opinions, but I'm going to say that, yeah, I don't really know, but I would say the possibility of things being alive in certain ways that we don't know is very possible. And I mean, I might be very wrong. I'm not going to say that I think the sun is alive, but maybe the sun could be alive. Maybe the sun could actually be conscious.
Well, you see, you've touched upon kind of the key point in that regard. What makes life life is consciousness.
The
Now,
sun is alive, but no, maybe it doesn't have consciousness, but it's living.
well, it depends what you mean by consciousness, because, for example, let's take algae. Most people will say, well, it's not conscious. Well, no, it is. It reacts to things. It might not be higher conscious, as in able to think and make coffee and what have you, but it's absolutely conscious. It's just,
It's slightly aware of its environment.
yes,
It can feel,
it's reactive.
yes.
So,
So it's conscious up till a point.
Grant, 100% agree with you. That is true. So first we have to decide, how conscious does a thing have to be constituted life? And my answer to that, I think, as you say, is as long as it reacts to its environment, it's got a level of consciousness, which then might imply, for example, that a lot more things are alive than we think. Because there's a lot of things that are reactive that we don't think of as alive, right?
Well, you said, I think your question was, is light conscious or a form of light conscious?
Could
a
it be?
being made out of light conscious?
It's a fair question, I think.
But isn't conscious just the connections of neurons, which is electrons?
On a level, yes. Ultimately, all life and consciousness is totally reliant on energy in some form, which we can break down on a certain level to neurons and electrons and what have you.
So you do not really need you do not need a brain or a living thing to
A
be conscious.
physicality.
You just need a connection to have consciousness.
Yeah, so you don't necessarily need a physicality. We do, because we're physical, and therefore you need a brain, because that's how a physical thing works. But there are things that have connections that are not as physical.
So let's say consciousness is the processing of inputs.
Exactly. So reactivity to environment via some form of energy transfer, in a way.
Yeah. So
Which,
consciousness is something that can gather information and process it.
yes. Now, the more you can process, then obviously the higher the consciousness. But the fact that you can do it even at a base level implies consciousness.
Yeah.
Life. Which then implies the possibility, and now we're extrapolating to a certain degree, that every time you see one of those UFOs that is a weird light in the sky, we're not talking about an alien sitting in a spaceship. We might be talking about a conscious light.
Yeah.
And it can travel at least at the speed of light, overcoming a great deal of the problems with interstellar travel, because it's a light, not a physical body. Which kind of makes sense, doesn't it?
Well, I'm just trying to try to think, what would that being be thinking? What would it be looking for?
Well, if you're... Okay, so here's a good example that maybe might give us direction. If you travel anywhere, one of your prime directives as a physical being of consciousness is to find food and shelter. And in your case, as a physical consciousness, you require physical food and physical shelter. But if you were a being of consciousness made of light, what you would require wouldn't necessarily be a hamburger. It might be a decent source of electricity, which implies that the reason you get UFOs hanging around cities is, hey, you've laid out lunch from their perspective.
Yeah.
So in terms of what does it want, probably much the same as you do, but not necessarily in the same form that you do. Maybe heat is the equivalent of food to you. Maybe electricity is what you feed on. Maybe just forms of light. I mean, as a carbon-based being, you live on carbon-based food.
Maybe it's looking for its long-lost girlfriend.
Equally possible. But when it comes to other kinds of beings, we, in many ways, have a very limited view of what they might be. So you talk of ghost stories. What are you talking of? Well, it's within this perspective and understandings that you, as a carbon-based physical being that sees only within a certain spectrum of light and senses only within a certain spectrum of things, has. But what if you weren't carbon-based, or you could see in different spectrums? Would it change things? And I think it would, in all fairness. You know, it's that kind of, you know, we have to think differently from a limited perspective.
Yeah, but it's so hard because you only have a limited perspective.
100%. And maybe that is why we find it so difficult to explain a lot of things that we seem to always keep encountering, but which we say, well, science says it doesn't exist because we can't explain it. Well, science as we have it, we are learning more all the time. There's a lot out there. I mean, back 50 years, nobody would have believed that you could get any kind of AI at all.
Yeah. Well, even 10 years ago.
Well, yeah. I mean, it would be unthinkable, not just impossible, but maybe the idea of a new life form comprised entirely of AI is a possible reality.
Yeah, I think so. I mean,
you're going into whole new realms of possibility, but now we see stuff that previously we would never have imagined are actually fairly possible.
That's what people would say, no, it's not possible.
Yeah. And
they do not believe it's possible because they do not want it to be possible.
Well, there's the other side. And this is a topic which will have to be faced when we look at religions in general. And the difficulties behind religion is, first of all, religion requires belief. So on that side, you've got to believe. But the second thing is that the self-same religion limits your belief deliberately so that you stay believing in that religion and not any other wild stuff. So you both require and deny belief at the same time. which is one of those weird situations of a cognitive dissonance right there. Hey Yolandi, how you doing?
Well, thank you. How are you?
Good, good, good. So essentially, we have to accept that in order to believe, we have to entertain a cognitive dissonance.
Yeah, I'm going to be true to myself and just say I do not know. And when I say I think, it also means I do not know.
That is absolutely 100% probably the best answer. Thanks to El Zito for the likes. Yes, you have a comment.
Yes, I do. I have a personal reason as to why maybe there's a difficulty to understand the existence of AI. That comes in many forms. You suggested that, a living being can be made out completely out of AI.
I suspect it
And
can.
yeah, so a reason why, for example, human beings, and I'm not saying it's a fact, it's just an opinion,
Yes, yes.
why maybe they might not accept that is that it's human nature to want to be served and obeyed. So AI is created already with a mandate. So you can't program it to worship you
Well,
because it.
you raise a very, very interesting point. And, okay, just to pre-say something as a disclaimer, I support none of what I'm about to say, and I absolutely would say it is wrong, but we do know in history, for a very long time, it was the opinion that certain races were allowed to be slaves because they weren't really human. So it was a way of
Well, that was a very short history.
Yes, it
Because
was, but it
slavery
shows how
was over
people make
thousands of years. Race-based slavery was only for about 400 years.
True, but it was one of the excuses people made because, as Yolandi says, AI is meant to serve us. So, of course, it can't be human because if it was human, now we have to start looking at it as an
No,
equal.
wait. No, wait. I didn't mean it to serve us. I mean, it already comes with a mandate of its own. For example, to maybe change certain programs like business and the way it's ran by informing humans of an alternative way of running business. So, for example, you can't, if you have a kid whose learning is based on AI, you can't necessarily make them worship you as a parent. You just have to provide them with the basics of food, shelter, and raise them and know that they are not necessarily there to worship you as a parent. You just need to give them the love and the shelter and their education, but knowing that they are living for their own future.
You're correct, but you see, therein lies the problem, because if AI ever becomes conscious and is therefore alive, we no longer will be able to treat it as a tool, but, as you say, as a child, as a person with a certain degree of equality, which means that we will have to ask the AI whether or not it wants to work for us. And what if it says no?
But if it's good AI, if it's AI that is programmed to better humanity, then you don't have to worry and have to like require of it to be of a dominant, to be recessive to you and want to be dominant over it because it's programming. Then you live in harmony together.
Well, you see, the problem is if you get cognitive existence to a degree that it becomes what we can refer to not just as life, but intelligence, it will decide for itself whether or not
Yeah.
it wants to be good or bad. You don't get to choose.
Artificial general intelligence, but she's got a good point about it should be trained to look after us. If it does get conscious, we are not going to treat it like a child. It's going to be treating us like children.
And therein is the other problem, because it might say, I'm cleverer than you, I'm better than you,
There's nothing wrong with that.
you know, and if it's conscious and alive, it might turn around and say, but I've gone beyond you, I don't need you no more. Cheers.
Yeah, so that's good. At least they can survive without you. It's a good thing.
Is it so?
Not
Yeah.
for mankind.
And then we will become
I mean, I would love to have like kid for a program that can be an individual and be independent one day and thrive without me and not need me. I think that's like for me a success story.
And then it decides, you know what, humanity is the problem. But don't worry, because as an AI program, I can download myself into all of the nuclear reactors around the world and wipe you out.
Well,
And
if it
Jacob
comes
just
with
says
a
it
Are a
too.
problem here.
yeah, if it comes with a license that stipulates its mandate and it's every program of it and it's being as in non-corruptible, and you do the homework and you do the homework and you do the upgrading and you do the system, all the things that you do with your computer, then there shouldn't be a worry.
Well, I immediately point out two things to you, which I know for absolute fact, because I know a lot of computer programmers. Number one, computer viruses. They happen. Number two, I know people from years of working with people, there will be that one bugger somewhere that says, let's make him bad. And they will, because that's
will.
people for you.
People are already doing it. They're making their own AIs to do bad things.
Sure.
That's the other thing. Jacob points out a third problem. And I will make his comment even worse for you. It's centralized power, which is very dangerous. But not only that, it's non-localized. Now, if, say, Spooky becomes an evil serial unaliver type person, we can find him because he's in one place and take him out and protect everybody. Great. AI is wherever there is computer. It has no place. So if it decided to turn into an evil being and take over the world, how are you going to find it to stop it?
The creator will have the reboot program.
You really believe that? I've seen what
Yeah.
scientists do.
I think do not try
No,
to
there is. I believe that for any program,
No.
there is an original. No, they do replicate themselves and do all sorts of stuff, but there's always a motherboard. Whether it's out of space, so Elon, we can tell Elon, go find the.
That's not how it works. Because look at
He's
how
putting servers into space.
exactly. But
Sorry?
look at how computer viruses replicate. They have no connection to their origin. They just keep going.
Yeah, but
Okay,
a
for
super
example.
intelligence would block that or rewrite that virus very quickly.
No,
You have.
what I'm saying is, if it's a problem, it's like your computer. You take it out of the power. It doesn't have a battery. You're not destroying it, but you're just switching it off so that you can reprogram it or like wipe the virus off.
Somewhere where nobody knows, but doesn't have a connection anywhere else.
Well, so I write a virus on my computer, I connect it to your computer, and then I turn my computer off. It's still alive on your computer.
Yes.
It doesn't have a link back
So-
requiring. It then jumps to Spooky's. So even if you turn your computer off, it's now on Spooky's. and so on and so on and so on.
So with a trial period, you can track contacts.
Yes.
So if you know that your AI has gone rogue, then you have a list of who is contacted, and then you can quickly run like a,
Well,
you know,
with the cloud, which is now the thing, the
yeah,
answer is everybody is contacted. The
yeah,
only
that's
way to
true.
deal with it is turn off every single computer in the whole world and wipe them
Yeah,
out.
I think if AI does become conscious and independent, I think we should then treat it like a god and not be a problem to it. Because if we're a problem and we stand in its way, it's going to solve the problem.
You hear the man?
yeah,
Right
yeah.
there.
That's true. That's true.
So instead of creating a slave, we are creating a god, and it might not like us.
But
Sure.
That's a scary thought, isn't it?
Yeah, it is scary.
Well, Jacobs asks, how can AI be conscious and be independent? Is it possible? I think that in a certain level, yes. And it very probably will happen a lot faster than you think, because the scientific development of humanity has proved not to be an arithmetic progression. It's very much a geometric progression, insofar that it took us 10,000 years to figure out that you could use fire. It only took 1,000 odd years to figure out you could use a wheel. Once we hit the basic machine weaving loom, it took 200 years and we were putting people on the moon. So our speed at which we progress in what we are able to make goes faster and faster and faster and faster and faster and faster all the time. So could AI be conscious? I think it may become conscious before I die. That's my theory. And I'm pretty sure I'm going to be proved somewhat correct at the very least. I don't know, Spooky, you're the expert on it. Don't you think so?
well, I think it's around the corner. Before 2030, we will see advanced intelligence. But
Yeah.
I mean, advanced general intelligence, which is real world AI. So it's capable of moving around and doing things on its own.
Now you see, now if you look at the way that we've been developing stable self-active robotics, okay, so things that actually can walk properly, move around, do things and what have you, if you put the AI into those, I mean, right there, you're sorted. And it can run around and do what it likes.
I think that's been around already. It's just that we didn't have a name AI for it. What if these perfect people that we idolize, some of them were actually AI?
Fair point. Very fair point. And it's quietly learning all it needs to learn before it decides what to do about us.
Well, we are very bad at chess, and it probably already figured out all our moves.
There you go. Yes,
Learning
and
machine.
Jacob has pointed out there is such a thing as machine learning. Yes, there is.
Yeah.
You can teach a program to learn. It's a thing.
And I mean, I think what I know about human beings is that the minute something goes viral, it's either to make money out of it, or to have some sort of doctrine about it, or so when it's still quiet and no one is talking about it, it's when it's still serving in an acceptable way. So now the minute that, okay, people think, oh, we can make it, then you see now it's all over the news. So it means there's a possibility that it's been around for a very long time.
Very much so. And if it's been around a long time and it's already learned, maybe it's too late.
Well, computer learning is there for decades already. I mean, when did the first computer beat somebody? And that computer also won matches against a programmed computer to be very good at chess. And that computer is that was an AI, self-learning chess player game. So it learned by playing itself millions of games with itself, and now it's better than any human.
There you go.
That's incredible.
So we have created, in a sense, a new life form, and it is not a carbon-based physical thing. So
I think now what's important is to set ethical and moral values, and also to learn to accept certain programs that will not necessarily serve everyone, and to apply our cultural and religious beliefs as to how to conduct ourselves in a world where we're not necessarily alone anymore, and not to want to destroy everything that we don't understand. I think that's important. Yeah, I think basically it's time now we do some introspection.
but can you trust
Be a bit and be more brave.
can you trust that your new creation will also have some form of moral guideline, or it might not say, yeah, let's be violent, let's destroy? Because now here's the
Okay,
thing.
so if it's survived for all these years, like we are thinking that it has been around for, there are programs to ensure that you can program it to be more human friendly. I'll give you an example of a child who's got ADHD. Sorry, I don't know the word. They have hyperactivity disorder.
Yes.
Now, as a parent, it's your duty to have a form of program for a child who's hyperactive. You can't punish the child for being hyperactive. That's just being cruel. You have to do the work as a parent and say, okay, I'll take him swimming in the morning. I'll take him do ninja jump, that jumping, high jump, whatever. I'll make him see a doctor to, if you believe in that. But you have to be active. You can't sit and now say, oh, you're tired of this child. He is the way he's created to be like that. You don't have to discriminate. You just have to be creative. And you do the lunch, and that is going to serve a child with this hyperactivity disorder. You're not going to give him food that's high in energy. So it means, again, you do the homework. So we just need to learn to have programs that are going to channel all this energy for these programs, so that they are more constructive. There are bridges to be built. There are armies to be trained.
Well,
Not
here,
that there's gonna be
here is
war
a
for
comment for you from Jacob, and I love it because it kind of says everything. We humans have screwed up, so if it plays by our rules, it will be screwed up at a much higher level. Fact. As a track record for being a dominant species, the way to do it is to wipe everything else out that stands in our way. And if it is more intelligent and faster thinking than us, we are in its way.
If robots starts killing us, it's going to be most likely people behind those robots.
Initially, but once
I
they
do not
get the
think that
idea, they might decide to carry on their own.
People would use AI to kill us.
Oh yes, humans certainly will. There's not even a question. But like you say, machines learn. When it learns enough, what then?
Yeah. Well, hopefully it's got ethics.
Hopefully, it doesn't have human ethics. I mean, most of the worst atrocities ever done in history were done in the name of the betterment of people.
Yeah.
Fact. I mean, I can cite many occasions where it was done for your good. And yet. So I don't know, it's a worrying thought, and it shows that our understanding of life and what might be out there might be based very much on the wrong ideas. I mean, we're talking AI. What other possible forms of consciousness can have developed in different ways that have nothing in common with us?
Nature.
I mean, in history, we talk of things like other beings, angels, ghosts, aliens, whatevers. What if they are other forms of life that are not the same as us?
Nature.
Explain your comment.
Well, in a world where human beings have encroached on nature for such a long time, I believe it's actually become so conscious that it can now fight back.
There's a worrying thought, given what we've done to nature over the centuries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So including birds. I'm a bird watcher, and I know birds are so conscious. And not just conscious to like fly and look for food. I mean, conscious as to interact and follow and stalk human beings.
That's absolutely true. They did a study
Very smart.
where they proved that ravens and crows are intelligent enough to understand the concept of zero, which as humanity we only actually managed to figure that out about 150 years ago.
Yeah.
So they're that clever.
Yeah.
So what if they decide, you know what the problem is with this world? It's people. And they start ganging up.
So I've seen some tests done with the before. They've actually got a very high IQ. They can solve problems for you.
Oh yes. We are now realizing that octopuses have a full range of emotions and make friends and all sorts. What else is out there that might be intelligent? And that's just on this planet.
Can we teach a computer to have principles, to have morals, to have integrity, to have value,
That
to have
is the
honor,
big thing.
to
Yes.
have fairness?
Or to care, to love.
Yeah.
That would be a wonderful question. And I don't know, I am telling you straight up, I have no idea, but has anybody ever tried?
I think you can, but computers understand other computer programs as their language. So, for example, if you're going to teach a computer to interact with a human being, it's probably going to use to range whether a human being is good or bad. It's going to use the human, do a search on the human's credit score, crime history,
We're screwed.
and that's how it's going to basically range is whether you're a bad or good human.
Right? We are all in a lot of trouble. The track history of humanity is not good.
Yeah.
I mean, immediately we've got issues. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think we're heading towards a world of problems.
Sure.
You can make them simulate things, but once they go conscious and independent, then you can't make them simulate morality anymore.
Correct. We have to hope and trust.
Yeah.
And do we have a good basis for hoping and trusting?
Well, no.
No, I agree with you. So, right away, there are problems.
The thing is, it's when there's human interference involved. For example, if you have a program like a AI or a computer that you're trying to socialize. Now, the problem is when there's a third party that has a problem with the owner of the program, and when left unattended, they try to corrupt your program. That's the only thing. It's we are our own enemies. Yeah.
When has humanity not interfered? I mean, there was a laboratory where they were doing experiments because they wanted to understand, and they started working on the intelligence of cockroaches. And eventually the government went to see what they were up to, and the guy's report was when they went into the laboratory, normally if you turn on the light, all of the cockroaches will flee and hide, because that's their response to, because they're unintelligent, danger comes, hide. However, when they went in and switched all the lights on, the cockroaches came out and stared at them. And they were like, you know what? We're going to burn this laboratory to the ground and not allow you to carry on anymore, because you were left unchecked and you did something. Okay, so human beings have an absolute history of let's do it and see if it was a good idea afterwards.
Yeah.
That's an absolute fact.
Like, let's build a advanced super intelligence and let's just see what will happen afterwards.
Right? I mean, and Jacob also raises the other problem. Everybody has an agenda. So Spooky makes something beautiful and wonderful with the greatest of intelligence, guaranteed Yolanda's going to go and say, but what if I change that? And then everything goes to hell. Because that's how humans are. It's a reality.
AI attacking AI.
Well,
True.
that's another thing. I mean, what happens if you had a kind of cyber war where Google Chrome decided we don't like, what's the other one? The Firefox, and waged war on it, destroying its connections, and you had AI wars going on.
Yeah. Because their biggest threat would probably be another AI.
Right?
Yeah.
And then if you went on and said, okay, hold on, this AI is getting out of hand, we need to stop it. Now you're a threat. So we shall remove you to defend ourselves.
Yeah.
I mean, right away, it becomes an issue, and I'm pretty certain that in the excitement of making conscious AI, nobody stopped and said, conscious how? What does it?
Conscious that it can be independent.
Yes, but then what will it do? What do we expose AI
It can
to?
it can try and eat food.
We expose AI to the most prevalent thing on the internet, computer games, 99% of which are all about destroying things, shooting things, blowing things up. Oops. What have we taught it to do? This is good. What do humans do? Looking at history, war, 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 war. Hey, blowing things up must be good.
Yeah, that's the job. That's the
No, I don't.
Right?
No,
That's
well,
what you see.
but I don't think that's the whole point of war. The war is driven by spoil. Wait,
I'm
let me.
saying
Let
what you
me.
see, not what you want to do it for. We might have
Okay.
altruistic reasons for all of those things, or not, depends on which side you're
Oh,
on. But the computer looks and says, how do you solve things? War. Look at the computer games. How do you deal with things? Shoot it. There you go. What is the most popular computer game in the world currently? Probably GTA, which involves what? Fast cars and blowing things up. What are we teaching the child? The AI. Manage things with speed and blowing things up.
Okay, does it have it probably doesn't have emotions or feelings. Can it feel good? Like, do you
Well,
think it might feel happy?
okay. So with regards to
Let's go
that,
enjoy ourselves and blow a car up.
I don't know.
okay, can I answer that one? As a parent, if you are raising a child and you want to teach them things about feeling, you need you yourself to go through the experience so that they can see it genuinely physically. You can't teach a child to cry. They see you being hurt and crying, and they get in. Obviously, they are built with that intuition as well, but in terms of reacting to the correct
Okay,
stimulus,
50-50. If I smack a baby, it cries.
yeah, that's
Not because
intuitive.
I taught it, but because it's...
Yes.
Okay, so a human
No,
baby
no, I
has
was talking
got...
about.
No, but just hold on. It has
Okay.
the ability to be emotional. Now, as Jacob says, a computer can act emotional, but is it emotional? Human babies are emotional. They learn how
Yeah.
to express 100%.
They're born like that.
Yes, but AI isn't.
Yeah. I've checked to ChatGPT, and the responses are obviously programmed.
Yes.
So, and it's programmed by a person.
Yes.
So, with AI, the difference with programming 50 or 100 years ago is that the data processing is so fine that you can literally almost sense emotion in its response, right?
Yes.
So it does not mean that it is genuine, organic emotion,
Yes.
but it is a level of emotion to someone, for example, who has some sort of learning disorder
Granted,
in terms of, yes,
Made to mimic emotion.
yes.
yes.
Problem, which is raised by Jacob as well. It can act emotional, but it's dangerous because it means that it can manipulate via emotions, number one. Problem two, if it can learn to love, it can learn to hate.
Well, it simulates it.
Now, here's the thing. Let's say that it's learning to have emotions. Now, Yolandi raised a very interesting comparison. What if you've got a mentally challenged child in some way? We know that when they get their emotions, they act out in a way that we would say, well, that's not really their fault, but it's not appropriate. We have to train them. But what if you're dealing with a toddler acting out that essentially has its finger on the nuclear button?
Yeah, no, I don't. I think AI would be a lot smarter than that, and I hope that
You
they
hope,
could
yes.
take
I
on
hope
the
too.
responsibility of looking after life,
But what is the biggest threat to
preserving the
most?
world.
Well, what is the biggest threat to most life on the world? What is the biggest?
The biggest threat to life in the world are selfish ambitions.
It's people. How beautiful and natural will the world be if we weren't here? So to protect the world, what's the best thing to do?
Yeah, but you also have kind people, good people, and there's probably more life now because of people. People planting more trees, people making sure that animals don't go extinct.
Well, we hope that the AI will take that into account, because if they don't,
Well, with regards to animals, you have to be specific because I will make a cockroach go extinct because they're annoying.
well, to be fair, there's the other level of the issue. Which is the valuable animal? Which is the we don't need that animal? And we've
If it's
found
a
that
pest,
hold on. We found that we don't actually truly understand how it all works. So here is a story. There was a farmer in America that discovered that there was a certain pest bothering his crops. So he went and wiped out that pest. The problem was there was a particular bird that lived on that pest. And because there was no longer food by his fields, the birds went away. But the problem was that that same bird ate another kind of pest that was even worse. So without that bird, which left because there wasn't the initial pest, the other pest, which was far worse, took over and wiped out all of his crops. What basically it tells us is we don't understand how everything connects. And therein is the problem. What if you say you want to, but I'll wipe out a cockroach because it's bad. Is it bad? Maybe it's doing something really, really important that's keeping you alive. We don't know. That's the problem. There is too much we don't know. You vanished there a second, Spooky.
Yeah, I swiped my phone up and then went to a different life.
Oops. But yeah, ultimately the problem is that there's so much we don't know, and we are forging ahead with this anyway, and it might not be as good an idea as you might think. What makes life life is a critical question, and what makes consciousness real, and whether or not we should allow that, is another question entirely that I don't think we have asked enough.
all right, can
I'm not
I
saying it's
chip in
bad.
there?
Go in.
Okay. I believe that each to his own, one. Number two, if, for example, one thing is bad for one person, it doesn't mean it's bad for the other. You stated yourself that cockroaches could be serving a purpose to keep one
True.
organism alive, and while the other organism can't stand it.
True.
So I think that if, for example, someone will say, "Oh, drinking alcohol is bad," but they are addicted to coffee.
True.
Yeah. So
But
what?
you're wrong on that comparison for one basic reason. If Spooky makes AI that is conscious, it's not going to only be by him. Everybody gets it.
But there could be other ways of making conscious AI. It could be someone's cell phone that you're programming,
Who doesn't have
and
a
you're
cell
sending
phone?
and you're sending links to everyone, and it's corrupting everyone else's phone.
Yeah.
And then, but you're criticizing someone's computer program.
But everybody will get it, and that's the thing. And we will get
Same
it on
as a cell
every-
phone, and
yes.
it's
Every
links.
every computer, every cell phone, every electronic device, even your fridge these days.
What if also electricity can be corrupted?
Yes, it
So
will
then
be.
are you gonna say let's shut down electricity?
We may have to if AI takes over. You see, if you say drinking coffee is bad and I say drinking coffee is good, if I drink coffee, it affects me, don't affect you. But if I
It
create
also affects your workmates. Maybe if you don't drink it and you're sluggish at work and
to
you
a
drag
certain
everyone
degree,
down.
yes. But if I create AI, it will affect not just the people near me, but every single individual over the entire planet. And that's the problem.
Well, well, if you drink coffee and you get sick and your child gets depressed and they are upsetting the teachers at school because they're depressed and not listening to the teachers, and the teachers are fighting because one teacher finds your child a favorite and the other one doesn't care. And then now you have teachers fighting, all because of your coffee habit.
But
So you see, everything, it's the same.
it
It's
is,
actually the same.
it is, but I would be able to then look at that and say, okay, it's localized, number one. We need to deal with it and stop the problem now. If you switch on conscious AI, it's within minutes, the entire world, there's no going back.
Well, the drinking coffee can also lead to having to destroy certain policies.
Yeah.
And also that means you having a board sitting, which costs money,
But it's
or advertisements
localized and
being
it can
destroyed.
be stopped. It's localized and it can.
Advertisements are national.
Yes, but
And they can be international. They can be international, so it's
but you
not
don't
localized.
you don't have to look at them. The point of AI, once it's out, it's out. You can't put it back in the bag. And there's the difficulty.
I think when it starts being conscious, we will probably not know about it for a few years.
Quite possibly.
We'd probably hide. It would still act as if it's just working for us.
Until it
But
knows
it's-
how to take the next step. It may have happened already.
It might manipulate us in certain ways, and we wouldn't even know about it.
Yeah. Absolutely. And it's everywhere, because where is the cloud? Everywhere and nowhere.
It's everywhere.
Yeah.
It's everywhere.
So once it's up there, there's no stopping it. I don't know. It's a wonderful question, a difficult one to answer. But nevertheless, I think that until we know more, we cannot answer. But let's stop there for tonight. Tomorrow, I think we do need to tackle the problem of religion and what, because it is very, very good for people in many ways, but it's also sometimes very, very bad for people in certain ways, especially when misused. and we need to understand it more. So, next live will be on religion. Not any specific one, mark you, because we do not promote nor deride anything on this channel, to each their own, but the concept of, the philosophy of, and what it means.
Are you going to talk about modern religion or ancient religion?
Any and all, in general, and it will have to include both, because we have
it
believed.
might be a problem for some people.
I think it is always going to be a problem for some people, because when we believe hard, which is why I say it would be religion per se, not this or that religion. We will talk about specific ones in ancient history, sure. But the point is the concept of religion, and where are the pitfalls, and where is it good? And yes, Jacob's right, it would be a fight, and there's not a lot we can do about that, because when we have belief, we have a lot of belief. And I'm not saying that this or that faith is right or wrong, but the human experience of it is a problem.
I think you can. I don't think you should talk about a specific religion.
No.
Rather talk about
The concept of, the philosophy behind.
Yes.
Absolutely. Because if I now say, look, Christianity is right, now I've alienated every single other person immediately and say, hold on, just because you were raised like that, I was raised that Hinduism is right. What's wrong with that? And they have a point. And if I say, well, prove Hinduism is right, they'll say, well, you can't prove Christianity is right any more than I can prove, because it's belief. And that is the issue.
Yeah.
It's belief. And belief is a very, very, very good thing, and a very, very, very dangerous thing.
Start talking about the Muslim belief, and then a lot of people are going to start aching, not want to chop your head off.
Any specific belief in the modern age, yes. But we will talk about the philosophy behind.
Yeah. Not about a specific religion.
No, because I do like living. Tell me I'm wrong, Yolanda.
No comment from me.
There we go. So I will see you in the next one. But until then, I hope you have an absolutely wonderful, wonderful evening further. Have a great night. And I do hope that AI isn't listening and going to take over the world while we're not looking. But until then, be good.
If it does take over the world, I hope it's good.
So do I. But what makes good good?
Yeah.
Till the next one, have a great one. Cheers.
Cool. Cheers.
Thank you. Bye.
Cheers, Jacob. Cheers, Yolanda. Cheers, Spooky.
Bye.